For 78 years, one family has run NASCAR. One last name has sat at the very top. That ends this weekend at Talladega, and the timing could not be stranger, because at the exact same race, NASCAR is also telling fans they can't get rid of the one thing fans hate the most. Let me explain what's happening, because two huge stories just collided at once. The first one is the big one. Jim France, the chairman and CEO of NASCAR, is stepping down as CEO. He's the son of Bill France Sr., the man who started NASCAR all the way back in 1948. So this is not just any boss leaving. This is the end of something that's been part of the sport since day one. The news was first reported by Jordan Bianchi of The Athletic, and Adam Stern of the Sports Business Journal also broke parts of it. The Charlotte Observer then confirmed it through its own source. So this isn't a rumor. This is real, and it's coming. Taking his place is the current NASCAR president, Steve O'Donnell. And here's the part that makes history. O'Donnell is the first person outside the France family to ever be CEO of NASCAR. Think about that for a second. Bill France Sr. ran it, then his sons, then his grandson Brian France, then Jim France. Now, for the very first time, the top job is going to someone who isn't a France at all. Jim France isn't disappearing, though. He's 81 years old and he's staying on as chairman. He also keeps his majority ownership of NASCAR, which is still a privately owned company. So the family still owns the sport. They're just letting someone else run the day-to-day work. And speaking of the family, there's another big move. Ben Kennedy is being promoted to Chief Operating Officer, which is a brand new role. Ben is Jim France's great-nephew. He's the son of Lisa France Kennedy, and he's been working as the Executive Vice President and Chief Venue and Racing Innovations Officer. He's also a real racer. He's won races in the Craftsman Truck Series and the ARCA Menards East Series. So, while a non-family member takes the CEO seat, the France family is making sure the next generation still has a strong place at the top. Now let's talk about Steve O'Donnell, because he's not some random outsider. He's 57 years old, and he's been with NASCAR since 1996. That's almost 30 years. As one report put it, he's almost become an honorary member of the France family. His fingerprints are everywhere in modern NASCAR. He helped build and roll out the next-gen car. He was a big part of NASCAR going to new tracks and bringing old ones back to life. He used to be the president, where he handled competition, marketing, and race operations. Now, as CEO, he'll oversee everything: the racing series, the tracks NASCAR owns, the whole show. The official announcement is expected this weekend at Talladega Superspeedway, right before Sunday's Jack Links 500. So why now? Why is this happening at this exact moment? Well, this isn't NASCAR's first big shakeup this year. Back in January, Steve Phelps stepped down as commissioner. Phelps had only been the first ever NASCAR commissioner for one season. His exit came after a long, ugly lawsuit between NASCAR and two of its Cup Series teams, including Michael Jordan's 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports. The teams sued NASCAR over revenue sharing. The whole thing dragged on for 14 months. During the trial, some really embarrassing text messages from Phelps came out, sent during heated revenue talks. The lawsuit was finally settled in December of 2025. Jim France himself was right in the middle of all that. He had taken a very tough stance during the 2025 revenue-sharing talks, and that's actually what triggered the antitrust lawsuit in the first place. So you might be thinking, wait, is he stepping down because of the lawsuit? That's the obvious question. But according to Bianchi's report, O'Donnell is adamant that the timing of the change has nothing to do with the trial. Jim France is also said to be insistent that the lawsuit had nothing to do with his choice. The story is that this succession plan has been in the works for a long time. NASCAR just needed to be in a stable spot before making the move. And right now, NASCAR is stable. They have a media rights deal locked in through 2031. The new playoff format seems to be bringing fans back, so in their eyes, now is the right moment. Quick reminder on Jim France's run. He took over as CEO and chairman back in August 2018, after his nephew Brian France stepped down. It started as an interim role and became permanent. During his time in charge, NASCAR brought in the next-gen car in 2022, expanded the schedule, and pushed for international growth. That's a real legacy. But here's where the second big story comes in. While NASCAR is making this huge leadership move at Talladega, The actual on-track product has a problem fans have been screaming about for years. Fuel saving. If you watch superspeedway races, you've seen it. Drivers backing off the gas, riding around at less than full throttle, trying to use as little fuel as possible. It's been ruining the racing since 2022. When the next-gen car came in, fans hate it. Drivers complain about it. Insiders complain about it. So NASCAR is trying something at Talladega. They're changing the stage lengths. The first stage will be longer, so drivers can make green flag pit stops. The last two stages will be shorter. The idea is simple. If the stages are short, drivers can't sit back and save fuel. They have to race. But here's the catch. NASCAR is openly admitting they can't get rid of fuel saving completely. Brad Moran, the managing director of the NASCAR Cup Series, went on SiriusXM NASCAR radio on April 23rd and basically told fans the truth. You can't unlearn what you learn, and it's become a thing at superspeedways, Moran said. We don't believe we're going to get rid of fuel strategies completely because they're just always part of the sport. The more fuel you save, the less you have to put in on the pit stop, which is quicker, and these guys are down to 1/10 of a second. He did add that the new format will help. He thinks the last two short stages will have no fuel saving, and even if there's a caution in the first stage, the strategy goes out the window. He called it a good first step on our journey to try to make basically the whole conversation about fuel strategy go away in the future. Fuel saving isn't new, by the way. Darrell Waltrip's famous 1989 Daytona 500 win came down to fuel mileage. Dale Earnhardt lost 1986 race to Jeff Bodine for the same reason. But it's worse now because the next-gen cars are so equal that teams will do anything for an edge. Crew chief Alan Gustafson made the same point earlier this season at Daytona. Not everyone agrees the new plan will work. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who has won all 4 of his career wins at superspeedways, points out that next-gen pit stops use a single lug nut instead of 5. That means teams can't pump in as much fuel during a stop, so they almost have to save fuel. Ryan Blaney said it plain and simple. It's not going to stop. We're still going to save gas, maybe just a little bit less than what we have. But the king himself, Richard Petty, the 7-time Cup champion with 7 Daytona 500 wins, thinks it's going to work. When they had those long stages, everybody just got in line and slowed down 2 seconds. And nobody tried to pass anybody, Petty said on his podcast. Now you've got 2 shorter segments to make up ground if you fall behind. That changes things. So this Sunday at Talladega, 2 huge things are happening at the same place. NASCAR is officially handing the keys to a non-France for the first time in 78 years. And NASCAR is testing a new fix for a problem they just admitted they can't fully fix.